Hello.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for coming.
Sure. As long as you can't see me in my pajamas.
Somebody in their pajamas.
Yes.
That is 100% the vibe I'm going for.
It's cold enough for that.
I
Yeah.
know. I've been gone since 9 o'clock this morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went to the gym, then I was grocery shopping forever.
Yeah.
Do you have a cup of tea in front of you and some cozy fire?
No, just some popcorn and some lemonade.
Is that your dinner
No, this is
snack?
yes, a post-dinner snack. If there's any such animal.
Maybe.
Well, it is so nice to see everybody. I am going to put the agenda in the chat, but please know that this is a very casual meeting and I want it to be beneficial for everyone. So help me make it the best meeting for you all.
Okay.
Hey, Walt, how are you?
All right. I forgot my headphones, but that means I get to go in the side room and take this off for a little bit.
Yeah. Nice. I'm going to give people just another couple minutes here to join. Seems like there's a fast rush of people coming in. There were about 50 people who registered, so about half are here. So I think that's pretty good because it's never 100% attendance. So
The best laid plans of mice and men.
yep. If
The
people,
snow kept everyone away.
yeah.
Oh, that was 3 years ago.
And also, if you didn't pay for a ticket, people just bail on things without explanation. So,
Well, that's right, because it's free.
right.
If people want, you can also introduce yourselves. I wasn't going to give a huge amount of time for doing that. So if people want to, I think a lot of people already know each other, but for those that don't, feel free to, speak up, and probably around like 5:10, I'll actually get this meeting started, if not a little sooner. So you can either introduce yourself in the chat like people are doing, or you can, unmute yourself and introduce yourself and what group you're with and all that kind of stuff. I know we have a lot of new faces this year. And since, 2020 when we all went virtual. So feel free to unmute and introduce yourselves if you want, no pressure. And also, if you want to add topics to discuss to the agenda, the link to the agenda is in the chat. So feel free to just add topics there. And also, if we don't get to a topic, I will carry it over to next month, or we can follow it up in discussion or something via email or otherwise later on. But thank you everybody for coming.
I'll speak up. I'm Paul Heckbert. I live in Edgewood, so close to the Regent Square area, and I'm involved with Steel Valley Trail Council. And they manage, as part of that group, we manage the Gap Trail near Kennywood.
I'm Mary Moses, Better Streets, Lawrenceville, live in senior high rise. Been here forever, older than dirt.
I'm Thomas Wagner. I live on the south side, part of Southside Smart Streets.
Yeah, a lot of people are contributing to the chat, which I thank you. Okay, 5:04. I think I think we can go ahead and get started. It seems like the flurry of joining has died down. So I just wanted to start off and just say thank you for coming and thank you for, indulging me with these new monthly bike ped advocacy meetings. I'll also still have the quarterly meetings with a guest speaker, but I just really wanted a way for everyone to casually connect and for us to just talk about things that we don't get to at the quarterly meetings, because everyone always gets cut off. And for some reason, we use up the entire 2 hours every single time. And there's just so much to talk about. And it still just doesn't seem safe enough to return 100% to having 60 people gather. So for now, it's going to remain virtual, and we'll just take it month by month. So I'm glad that you were all able to join. The agenda tonight, I just wanted to start off, it's going to be pretty loose, where it's like, I just wanted to give some updates and kind of disseminate information to you all. And then I figured we can break off into what seems to be 3 topics. I was going to do a poll if we want to break off into small discussion rooms, or if we want to talk about it as a group. We can decide later, and then kind of end out with like report outs if we do go into breakout rooms. But the first thing I wanted to talk about, and please interrupt me if you have questions at all along the way, to unmute yourself. I think you can just like click up in the right hand corner and unmute yourself, or down at the bottom, unmute yourself, or press, I'm not sure if you're on the phone how to unmute yourself, but if you need help, someone will help me, I know. But the first thing I wanted to bring up is that capital budget requests are always the first thing to talk about in January. And if you haven't talked about it with your group, sorry for those who are outside of the city, but this is an inside of the city issue. And those capital budget requests for the city are due in April. And I just wanted to send out this reminder, because there will be February and March, so 2 meetings before those letters need to be submitted. And I wanted to just give a reminder to everyone to start compiling those requests. And it also is not too early to send out a request to your council person to set up a meeting. I would strongly encourage you to set up a meeting either before you submit the request, so that you can go over them with your council person and or the staffer, and they can kind of vet the list and tell you what they have on their list, and kind of get a feel for what would maybe make it or wouldn't make it, and if anything needs to be tweaked, or if something might not even be considered a capital budget request at all. And so if you set a meeting up now, it gives them plenty of time to get it on their calendar, and also for you to get your request together. But if you don't get a meeting with your council person together in time before you submit, definitely get a meeting set up to go over things after you submit. And again, I like to tell people to get your letters in by April, knowing that might not happen. And then you'll get them in May. And if that doesn't happen, then you'll definitely get them in by June, which is exactly when the city needs them. So if I tell you April, which I'm telling you it is April, you will definitely get them in enough time for everyone to not feel rushed. So 2 more meetings before they need to be submitted. And I put links to the city's capital budgets in the agenda, so you can see what was funded this year and previous years if you'd like to see that, and also a link to the city's operating budgets, because there's often confusion between the capital budget and operating budgets. So operating budgets, just briefly, are what the city uses, to do payroll and things like that. And then the capital budget are large swaths of money allocated for $50,000 projects, or projects that have a lifespan of 3+ years. And then I put a definition of what a capital budget is. And then a lot of people also ask for examples of capital budget letters, and hopefully you can see examples in the Drive folder where I keep everyone's letters. And if you can't see them, just let me know and I'll change the sharing setting and stuff. I just didn't want people, I tried to do it on view only because I didn't want people to edit other people's letters. But if you can't see it, I can just change the settings so that you can see examples of past letters, or even your own if you forget what you've submitted in the past. Does anyone have questions about any of that? Or anything you'd like to discuss? Feel free to just unmute yourself.
Have you heard anything in general about whether capital expenditures are up, down, or the same? I know there's been some holdup on what the city is doing with the COVID stimulus money, and I think that came up at the end of the Peduto administration, and they sort of deferred it to once Gainey had taken office.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything yet. And it might be because I pretty much only deal with like one department at the city, which is DOMI. And as far as I know, they're mostly just concerned with staffing and filling the vacant roles, which is pretty much just a constant issue. And they don't even have a director as of now. So as far as I know about the budget, I haven't heard anything, but I do know, this year they do have the budget set, which was what Peduto passed last year. And so that's what they have to go off of for this year.
Okay, so Peduto did pass a budget for the
Yeah.
2022-3 budget year, even though I guess that would
2022.
still,
Yeah.
2020, okay, that part is calendar year.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. So the letter that you'll be writing this year will be for 2023.
okay. I'm used to school district calendar, so got it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so moving on. I know another huge topic that a lot of people have been working on is membership for your groups. And I wanted to remind people, or if you didn't know, I'm sorry I haven't told you. And I just wanted to say that all groups and anyone is always welcome to write a guest blog post for Bike Pittsburgh. And that guest blog post could just be introducing your group, reintroducing your group, just talking about an event or anything, sending a link to just find out who your group is, who you are. And you're more than welcome to do this whenever you want. And the benefits of doing a guest blog post is that it gets sent out in our messenger, and we have about 40,000 subscribers to it. So it's bound to reach someone that lives in your neighborhood or your area. And it's just a great way to reach a like-minded audience with the information that you're trying to share. So you could write a guest blog post even on, a topic that you just want to bring attention to, like Nancy, just because I'm looking at you, and I know Paul, I think also wrote about it, but like people parking in the bike lanes, like in front of a business, and you want to just bring awareness about that issue, or writing about, just because I'm seeing people's faces here, I'm like being reminded of things like street crossings and leading pedestrian intervals, or how to build a trail network, land acquisition, like whatever it is that you have an interest of getting feedback on or connecting to other people, you're more than welcome to write a guest blog post at any time. The only thing we have that I ask for are 2 pictures, because it takes me a really long time, oddly enough, to find photos that can work for like a header image, and then a title for your blog post, and then a minimum of 300 words. And I can do the rest. Like I can format it, I can make it pretty. I put it into our backend website and then publish it. But I just want you to know that it's always an option for your group to write a guest blog post and introduce your group, or just use it for whatever information you want to share or write about. The second thing that we can offer, that Bike Pittsburgh can offer to help with membership, is that we can email any Bike Pittsburgh member within your zip code for your group. So, if you want to send out an email to everyone in like 15236, I can do that on behalf of your group. You just can't send it because, membership and emails and stuff is confidential. But I can send an email to anyone for a public meeting, or if you think for one of your monthly meetings or your quarterly meetings, I'm more than happy to do that for you. I just need 2 weeks notice. So if you get me information for sending it to like our members, who would probably be an easy target to get to join any of your groups, I'm more than happy to do that. I just need 2 weeks, because more often than not, people just need a 2-week lead time. And if it's for an event, I just need a date, a time, and a location, just the basics of an event. And if it's virtual, just a link to join. So those are two ways to drum up membership that are fairly easy and straightforward ways that have proven to work in the past. Thomas.
This is not a let me Google this question for you, but is there a way that you know of to get a simple and easy to read map of the zip codes in the city? I'm sure it exists. I don't know where it is. I can dig around and find it if I need to.
Honestly, I have always just like Googled and just found it like that way, which I know is not the answer you're looking for, but I haven't ever really found a map with it on there. I'm sure it exists, but I just don't know. Mary.
You
Okay.
can get one from city planning.
Hmm.
City planning has them. So if you request one from your representative from city planning, they will get you one.
Oh, okay. Good to know. I'm sure it exists. I can figure it out. Just figured before I reinvented the wheel, I'd ask.
Yeah, that is a good idea, and they do have them.
Okay. I know my own zip code and like maybe one of the adjacent ones, but I do not know a comprehensive list of city zip codes.
Right.
Dino, I don't know what you're talking about. What is the bike PGH spot?
All right, I had to unmute myself here. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. If you want to write a blog, it can be posted somewhere. And so I'm not sure where you're posting this, but
Gotcha.
if you already have, I have a little blog and I just wrote up something about the Central Bethel Park Trail. Rather than rewriting that, can I put a link to that on whatever place you're referring to?
Yeah, so if you send me that link, like I can just copy and paste it and then make it a blog post on our Bike Pittsburgh website. We have like a blog like place post that I just put the link to, and like you can see all of the articles, blog posts kind of like listed there, and it's chronological. And then by posting it, I meant like it would just go onto this like website where we have all of our blog posts hosted. And then whenever we send out a messenger, which is like the Bike Pittsburgh newsletter, we include like the most recent or relevant blog posts in the messenger. So whatever ends up being in this like scroll list of blog posts, that's what gets featured in the messenger, which usually gets sent out once a month, if not twice a month. And that gets sent out to those 40,000 people.
Okay, thanks. I'll get that to you then.
Yeah.
And when you say photos, if if we're making a request that we don't have any specific photos, do you want like clip art, or I don't know, we could go take some. I don't know that I necessarily have anything. I do have a topic in mind.
Yeah, if you don't have one, it's okay. If it's infrastructure, like worst case scenario, I'll just take a screenshot of Google Maps of like that road or that place that you're talking about. But having not clip art, but just something that like conveys the story that you're trying to tell, or at least like a location or some visual that makes sense to go along with it, because just the back end of how the website landing page works, you have to have like some sort of an image or placeholder. And it has often taken me, it sounds ridiculous, but sometimes I've been searching for a photo for like over an hour, just because it's hard to find one that is relevant to the story. So
For instance, if you're doing a crossing, just to go out to the sidewalk and take a picture of the crossing and send that.
yeah, it sounds easy in theory, but then
It's not.
it actually, it's like I try to find one where like, if like, or a pedestrian, for example, it's like I try to find one that includes like all ages and abilities, or like not just, the same picture that Bike Pittsburgh has used like 60 times in their imagery. I try to, get solid pictures out there to tell a story, but sometimes it's harder than it seems. And if you send me one, it just makes my life a whole lot easier. But if you don't have one, that's fine too. I can always find one. But yeah, any other questions about that, or can I clarify anything?
I don't want to belabor the point, but is there an issue with photo releases? If I went out and took a photo of something that maybe had people but not identifiable people in it, is that okay?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay. I bring this up because I do some work with one of the organizations in my company, and we're not allowed to use photos without releases. So we're stuck to clip art people, even if we are the ones that took the photo of ourselves. Still not okay.
Yeah, no, I don't, as far as I know, that's totally fine. And unless I'm told otherwise, I've never heard of not being able to use those types of photos. So that's
Good to know. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. The next thing I wanted to bring up is hosting a bike ride or walk. I'm sure you saw the email that went out where your bike ped group can host a ride or a walk in fair weather months. But this year, in addition to these meetings to get more people to come together and feel, part of this community, I am hoping that each bike ped group, at least for the fair weather months, will step up to host a ride and or a walk in their neighborhood. And my goal is to bring all of you into each other's neighborhoods so that you can see the issues that everyone is talking about and have an excuse to go to that area. And it doesn't matter whether it's a ride or a walk. If it's a ride, I'm just thinking something super easy, like a mile or 2 miles. And if it's a walk, just like something that would take about a half an hour, nothing super involved, but just a way for everyone to kind of get out to places where they might not necessarily go on their own or explore, and as a way for you to show off your neighborhoods and also show people the issues that you're talking about, because as we all know, sometimes it's hard to visualize things without experiencing them firsthand. And so there's a link to sign up your neighborhood or you yourself if you would like to host a ride or walk in the notes. And I'll reach out to people probably in the end of February or March to schedule something for March or April. We'll see how the weather is. Are there questions about that? The next thing I wanted to just say that, I'm here as a resource for you all and to make connections. So please let me know what would be helpful to you or what you would like me to create. Like in the past, I've made that grassroots advocacy toolkit, which hopefully people have seen. But I can also make like one pagers on any topic that would be helpful. If you need help on something, like just let me know. I'm here. I can create the material that you need. I can post it publicly, whatever it is, just let me know. I am here to help. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up before we break off into the other discussions is about the age-friendly neighborhood program with Age-Friendly Pittsburgh, or age-friendly, yeah, I think it's age-friendly.
Age-friendly Pittsburgh.
I've said it so many times, it almost doesn't sound real anymore. But right now, this group is accepting interest. They have an interest form out for people and communities to apply for this grant program that they are doing to help spur intergenerational events and activities in different communities. And they are going to give, Mary, you can step in if I'm saying this wrong because you went to the actual information sessions, but there's about $10,000 that they're going to distribute to 3 communities to use to put towards doing some sort of intergenerational events to activate a community or a project or something in a community. And they specifically would really like it to be around like biking and walking and making safe streets and those types of things. So, oh, Cassandra, you're here. You can talk.
Hey everyone. Yeah, Anna, I meant to message you beforehand to say that I'm on. But no, you did a great job explaining it. But yeah, so I'm attending this kind of as a resident, but also I happen to be with Age Friendly. So Age Friendly, like everything Anna said, we're going to be selecting 3 neighborhoods across the county for a 2-year process to implement intergenerational age-friendly programs. So that could be something relating to safer streets, bike pedestrian advocacy, and then it could also be things like digital literacy training at the local senior center. It could be community conversations to kind of bridge gaps between younger residents and older residents. It's really going to be up to the neighborhoods to decide what they want to do. And like Anna said, there will be funding that will go to each neighborhood that they can use to implement some of these projects. A portion of the funding, so about $7,500 will go towards the projects themselves each year. And then about $2,500 will go towards a stipend for what we're calling age-friendly ambassadors, which will essentially be a representative from the neighborhood to really be kind of the main liaison or point of contact in that neighborhood that Age Friendly will work closely with. So I wanted to share it with Bike Pittsburgh and Anna, thinking that this would be a great funding opportunity for any of the local neighborhood committees to really implement some cool projects. I will say that in developing this, we want the neighborhoods to really work on a bunch of different projects. So it would be more than just bike pedestrian friendly projects, but that would certainly be kind of a key thing that we would want to implement.
And also it will be more than one time. This is the first one. It will happen again if it goes well.
Yes, thank you so much, Mary. You could do the spiel for me at this
I
point.
probably could.
Yeah, so we'll be, this is the first time we're doing this. We'll select the 3 neighborhoods. And then in 2024, which is like really weird to think about, 2024, we'll select another group of 3 neighborhoods. And our hope too is that for neighborhoods that aren't selected, we'll still share resources and information that we have, so that the neighborhoods can still implement the projects that they were hoping to implement, just not with our direct funding or day-to-day involvement.
And also it's seed money because you have to raise the rest of it yourself. If you want to do something really big.
Exactly. Yeah, it's seed funding, but we will work with you to kind of identify other funding sources, whether it be through grants or foundations, or like Mary said, local fundraising. Or we might just, like, if a bunch of organizations say, yeah, we'll do all this in-kind support for this project, that would be a way to kind of further the projects.
Do you have to be an incorporated entity in order to participate?
No. Oh, well, so you have to be an Allegheny County neighborhood, but you do not have to be. We're selecting 1 suburban, 1 urban, and 1 community south of Pittsburgh within the county. So that's the only requirement.
I just meant that, like, the Southside Smart Streets is not an officially incorporated 501c whatever organization.
Oh, got it. I was thinking like incorporated as part of the city or the boundaries. No, so it can be anyone. You just have to be a resident in that neighborhood. That's the only requirement. It certainly does not have to be a nonprofit or an organization applying. It can be your 70-year-old neighbor. It could be you, Thomas. It could be anyone. Our hope is that we would then kind of work to identify who the key agencies and nonprofits are in that neighborhood to really work with them and see what stuff they're kind of already doing, but it can be truly anyone. The only requirement is that you live in that neighborhood.
Okay, so the fact that we are not an incorporated entity, I mean, potentially I know for a lot of grant funding, they require that. So if there was some grant component, we might have to work with Chamber of Commerce or Community Council or someone that they are an incorporated entity that has a bank account and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I should say too, Age Friendly is working closely with Lively Pittsburgh to do a lot of the like on the ground community engagement with the neighborhoods. Most of the seed funding, well, all the seed funding is going to them for their distribution. So it's possible that a lot of the funding would be like, if you wanted to hold an intergenerational event, Lively Pittsburgh would be fronting the bill using that seed funds from the neighborhood, and buying the food, buying the supplies, whatever it might be. And then for other projects where you want to have other organizations involved, we would kind of sort through kind of what the money trail is, but yeah.
Any other questions about that? The application is due February 13th, so day before Valentine's Day. Get it in.
And the
Very
annou-
romantic, yes.
And the announcement will be mid-March as to who got it.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Mary's ready.
Oh, yeah, I'm completely prepared.
I definitely think too that this is a great opportunity because it is already funded, like you already get funds. And I know that when we talk about, you know, biking and walking issues amongst other neighborhood issues, you know, the most vulnerable populations are those that lie at like those two ends of like the ages, like the youngest people who are coming up in the next generation and the older people who have the history to share with the younger generation. So, you know, combining these two like perspectives, I think is such a unique and wonderful way to create healthy communities.
And don't forget the disabled who kind of feel
Yes.
their way through.
Mhm. So it's a really cool opportunity that I hope many of you try to take advantage of. Okay, so with that, let's move over into our discussions. I guess I can make a poll, but do people have opinions of whether or not you would like to break out into 3 group discussions? One will be talking about creating like a Slack group and a new way to communicate amongst everyone, which I think is a really great idea and I'd like to do. Another topic is snow plowing and getting bike lanes cleared during the snowstorms, like what's happening right now. And the third is the Gainey administration. So I can create 3 breakout rooms and people can choose which room they would like to go into, or I can assign you, or we can just stay on top of the time and just stay in one group and have a group discussion. Someone said stay together. Okay, talk together. Great.
I'll say stay together. This is Robin.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, stay together. These are all issues for all of us.
Yeah. I just didn't know if like time wise, if people cared. And like I said, if we don't get to something, we can always move it offline. Okay, so Slack group. I'm gonna, is Armin still on? Yes, thank you. I'm gonna let you talk.
Hi. So I think at the last meeting, it was Bloomfield maybe, who said they have a Slack group and they're super communicative on there.
Shady side.
Shady Side, thank you. And I was jealous because in Lawrenceville, we don't have one. And I thought of creating one. But then I was like, well, doesn't every bike ped group really want this? And so I would love to be able to talk to all of you more without waiting for these monthly meetings. I'd love to be able to just reach out to Bloomfield and say, hey, I have some opinions on Corral Street. What do you think? And so I guess I want to gauge people's opinions of creating a Slack group for everybody. It sounds like there's some yeses in the comments, but curious to
I'm
hear.
going to show my ignorance. Can you give me like a 30-second
Yes.
explanation of what a Slack group is and why we might want one?
Absolutely. It's a website or an application that lets you communicate between these meetings. So it's like a messaging group, except you're not getting notifications all the time like someone's texting you. It's just a message board where we can communicate with each other, and you can subscribe to whatever topics you want to talk about. So if you don't care about Lawrenceville, you don't have to be in the Lawrenceville channel. And so, we can host some trainings for people who are unfamiliar with Slack to get familiar. I've hosted some of those and I'm happy to train people up in Slack usage. But did I answer your question on what Slack is?
I think so. It's sort of somewhere between email and texting, kind of like an old school news group.
Yeah, it's very similar to an old school news group. The main difference is that it's organized into different channels. To answer Louise's question, yes, it's free. Well, there is a free tier. You can also pay for it, but we would just do the free one. And then Leah, I see your hand's been raised for a sec.
Yeah, Leia. Oh, I just wanted to say, I was the one who was talking about the Shady Side group last time. And yeah, I think it's been a really nice way for us to communicate casually. And like, I could definitely picture having like different channels for different neighborhoods so that we can, like, if you ride through Shady Side, but you're not in the Shady Side group, you have your own group, but you ride through Shady Side, maybe you want to hang out in our channel, or like even like stuff about specific projects. So yeah, I just think it would be a really nice thing to have for everybody to have more community together.
I fully agree. It generally seems like there's agreement. I guess one of the logistic questions that we don't need to figure out in this meeting is whether we want to create a bike PGH wide Slack group or just usurp the Shady Side one and then turn that into one. So Leah, can I coordinate with you to like, you have an opinion?
Yeah,
right now, go for
I
it.
think we will probably, I think it makes sense to make a new one.
Great. So then I will coordinate with Anna
Todd,
to-
who's on this call, helped set ours up, or did set ours up. But I think it's pretty straightforward.
yeah, he says in there it's painless. He's happy to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to coordinate with Todd and Anna to set one up and do the initial legwork, and then we can figure out how to do, I don't know, monthly Slack trainings, maybe a few more at the beginning, just so everyone who's unfamiliar with Slack knows how to use it. Somebody asks Discord compared to Slack, any advantages? I use both Discord and Slack. I have no opinions on which one is better or worse. They both feel exactly the same to me. So if someone has strong opinions, I'm happy to go with that.
Cool. I'm gonna put out a poll real quick just to see who thinks what. If you want to use it or not, or you don't care. Pretty unanimous. Okay. Armin and Todd, I'll work with you to get this set up. I think it's a great idea, and I do think that Facebook is stupid personally. So I am glad that we can move onto a different way to communicate.
I often cite the bike pedestrian group as one of the main reasons that why I would need to keep Facebook. So
yeah, the only reason I like Facebook is because it is extremely easy to make events on it and invite people that way. I don't know if Slack can do that, but I don't think it's good for conversations. I feel like it's a good way to just spam people and create events. Pretty much. That's my opinion. I don't know what others feel. That's a personal opinion, but I also only have my Facebook for work. So I do only use it for the bike ped group. And if there was a better way to share information, I would welcome it. So I think this is it. Cool. There were 0 no's. Sorry if anyone wanted to say no and you felt you couldn't. But hopefully no one felt that way. Does anyone have anything else they want to say on that topic?
I had something in the chat.
Oh, you did? Could it be both neighborhood and issue based?
Like one
Maybe.
being the trails and one being like issues that are citywide, like sidewalks, parking on sidewalks, bike lanes.
Yeah, I agree. And the nice thing about Slack is that as we go, we can figure out which splits are useful, which channels are useful, which are not. And so it's a very adaptive thing. And every member is actually empowered to create their own channels. So if there's something that you're missing, you can just create that channel.
Is there a way to make one post hit multiple channels? Like if I had something that was specific to bike trails versus something that was specific to Southside, could I somehow do horizontal instead of vertical, or is it you set up a channel for Southside, that's what you got?
You can absolutely do that. And then there's also, it's common practice to have an announcements channel where only admins can send a blast out so everybody gets it. And that way there's a channel that there's not too much chatter on. So if you just want the important stuff, you can look at the announcements channel. So all of these are possible.
Thank you.
Yeah. There is no cross posting in the
Usenet. I know someone mentioned news groups where you could just post to multiple groups. So yeah, every message goes to one channel, but then you can take that message and share it into other channels as well.
Wow.
The other thing I would say is, you know, if you want to set one up for your own group for your own use, it's super easy to do, and especially a lot of people are on Slack already for work. I know my work is all Slack based, so I'm on like 10 different Slacks, and they're just all in the same app, and you can switch between them. So
can Slack do video conferencing? And I think someone else asked if it was free. If there is a cost, I'm sure Bike Pittsburgh can front it.
Yeah, there's a free tier, and I don't think we should pay for it because the paid tier is like $5 per person per month, which is way too high.
Yeah.
But we can get away with the free tier, and then it can do video conferencing, but it's not great, especially for big groups like this. It is nice for just a 5-minute one-on-one chat, so you can just video someone right in there.
Nice. Well, I'm excited about this. Thank you, Armin, for bringing it up and ushering us into this new chapter of online life. Okay, for the sake of time, let's move on to snow plowing into the bike lanes. I don't remember who brought this up, so whoever did, can you start talking? Or someone, please.
It might have been me. I'm not sure. I had so many issues. I think last year we had some discussion about whether the bike lanes should be cleared. And this year, what I've noticed is that the plows not only are not clearing the bike lanes, but they're just plowing everything into the bike lanes. And that means that the bike lanes are the last to clear because there's piles of snow. And I'm not sure what can be done about it, but I throw it out there and see if anybody's having problems. I find myself riding down the middle of the road and on East Liberty Boulevard, boy, does that make drivers mad. And there's some other places that makes them mad too.
One of the things that bothers me is that they pile it up, like you said, in sort of that gutter part. When you're going to cross the street, you can't get across. You have to go over ice or over snow to get into the crosswalk to go across.
You're talking about walking.
Yes.
Okay, that's true too. Yes.
I think I noticed last year that the lane in Shenley Park between the library and would get cleared. Must be a separate bike lane plow or something, but I don't know if that's anyplace else.
Well, I guess the question is what can be done about it, if anything. Do we have any kind of power, or is there a person we can go to as a group?
Or do they
Didn't the city just recently get some money to buy one or more bike plows?
There was a vote at city council to have DPW purchase the equipment, and I honestly forget what they voted on because that was outside of Domi's department. It was like a city council vote, and I will follow up on that.
I guess that even if they have the equipment, probably the staff costs to actually do it are going to be the hard part, especially when it snows. I know they're stretched pretty thin, so.
Yeah. I mean, the most I know about how to advocate for this kind of thing is, 311 about it, and also just make a stink to your council person. Because unfortunately, this issue just lies in DPW's hands. And like Gainey, he put out that whole to do about, I will make sure that this Snowmageddon, the streets will be cleared. And I don't know how others feel, but I can look out my window right now and every single street that I can see is covered in snow. So
I think it's called Snowmageddon.
And then too, there's a lot of people that don't like the bike lane, so they'd rather they were just plowed over with snow.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a cop-out answer, but the only way I know how to advocate for this is to really just like call your council person, take pictures and document it and report it to the city, and make a stink about it, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease, as we've seen with like every single public meeting. And the solution is to ask them to, buy the equipment that will be able to clear the lanes that are covered in snow. But the first thing is to make them aware of it and care.
Can I make,
sorry, go ahead.
if you call 311, ask them for a number. And then they'll give you a number. And then when you call again, you say, I'm calling in reference to number 357, and I called you already about the bike lanes. What's going on with that number? Because if you don't tell them that, they just write it down and say, okay, we'll look into it. But if you have the number, it's like, okay, you're tracking it too.
I was going to say, kind of related to bike trails, but to my knowledge, the sidewalks on the bridges don't really seem to have anyone in particular responsible for them. I guess conceptually it's whoever owns the bridge, but in practice, I don't think any of them really get attended to. That came up in my neighborhood Facebook group, that somebody went out and themselves shoveled the hot metal bridge when we had the snow the last time. So I don't know if that's, maybe the same equipment might be useful for both purposes. So that's probably a whole separate bureaucracy.
Yeah, Eric had talked about that one time with the Bloomfield Bridge one, the one you have to go up the steps and over, that nobody would ever shovel that. And that's the only way you can go with a bike without getting killed in that intersection.
I know there's only like 14 minutes left. And so I kind of think we should maybe morph this conversation, because it is kind of on the same topic with the new administration, and just kind of morph these two discussions together. So like, how could we implement this issue that comes up every single year, and we always kind of forget to discuss it until it's happening, into what we should be asking the new administration for priorities and stuff like that.
Could we ask for time as city council to talk about what issues we would like to have addressed? You know how they have that 3 minutes that you can talk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Do you have to register in advance, or is it
Yes.
at the day of the meeting?
You can do it the day of, but they give you a time period. Like if the meeting starts at 1, you should do it like before 12:15 or something like that. So they have a list of who's going to do it.
Okay.
I think it would be more important, in addition to that suggestion of going to council for your 3 minutes of fame, is to really identify a small group of people from this group, obviously someone from Pike Pittsburgh leading it, who can speak on behalf of our issues and present maybe a little one-page, easy to read priority list, and then really force our way into having face-to-face meetings. And try to have 9 meetings, one with each council person, and at some point ask to meet directly with the mayor or the mayor's chief of staff. If you could get 20 minutes in person with each of them, it would be a start. And if they see you face to face, you leave them something, you speak to them, you're professional and have your priorities set, you realize what's possible and probably what's shooting for the moon. And once you get everybody to recognize who your faces are, and the next time you send something by email, or you send something by letter, or you ask again for a meeting, you've got a little bit of credibility and clout.
There is help in numbers, having a bunch of people do that rather than one person saying, well, this is what I'd like for my neighborhood.
Right. I think right now, over half of the city is represented, and a bunch of areas outside of the city that connect to the other side of the bridges that we're all talking about. So if all of you set up meetings with your council people, or at least email them about this issue, then, you know, there would be a minimum of 50 emails on the topic, which would make a big impact.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, but sometimes we have neighborhood specific issues that
Mhm.
you want to go to your council person and talk about a specific street or bridge that's in your area. But we as a group here today have broad issues. Whether we want more bike lanes, whether we want them plowed, not just the one on 6th Avenue downtown or 6th Street, but we want all of them, or we want to prioritize which ones. And I think that we as a group need to get those global issues out and then let Walk Right North Side, the Shady Side Coalition and so on, talk to their particular council person, taking the larger agenda and then fitting it down into, in my district, in your place, you're the council person, this is the street that's our biggest concern. But I think we can lead the way as 3 or 4 people that represent this whole continuum of everybody that's on this screen in front of me that can put more global issues in front in a very professional manner.
Lori Beth, were you going to say something? Oh, I saw you raise your hand.
I
thought about it, but I've been through the council rigmarole too many times to think there's a lot of value there. But if other people have had better outcomes than me, have fun.
Well, that's how Lawrenceville got the housing issue sort of front and center with the mayor's office. They went down and they talked about it and they talked about it, and LU went down and talked about it, and finally the mayor said, well, let's look at it. So that's one issue, you know, it may work.
Nancy?
Yeah, I mean, we could have a two-prong approach here. One of the thing is if 311 gets inundated with calls and service requests on their app, and they're all saying the same thing. So, you know, if everyone on this call sent an email to 311, that request to 311, if you all take it back to your groups and have everybody in the group make a request. So if we make a request that the bike lanes get plowed, and there's, you know, 20 or 30 of us here today, and there's 20 or 30 people maybe in each of your groups, that would be quite a number. That would be hard to ignore. And then we could also meet with our respective council people.
Yeah,
so two-prong approach.
I do know that early in maybe like September-ish, when the issue was going before council about buying the snowplow, you know, a bunch of you emailed your respective council people, and Scott and Eric talked to, I believe, you know, like the director of DPW and council people about it. So I know this issue is being taken seriously by Bike Pittsburgh, but it does also rely heavily on all of you also making the requests to your council people. You know, it's like Scott and Eric are only 2 people, and they do need, you know, all of you to, you know, make the same requests, because they do have the ear of the city, but the city is also very short-staffed, and you know, there's only so many people. But if they do hear this issue being brought up from all of the council people, I do think that it would make more of an impact as well. So I think the two-prong approach makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What are some other priorities that you would like to see the Gainey administration cover?
Parking on sidewalks.
And it's
I would expand
corollary.
that in I was going to say I would advocate in general for parking enforcement in general to be improved. I live on South Side, and parking, even when you call in with a specific parking issue, sometimes a police officer shows up, sometimes not. I realize it's a low priority call, but on the other hand, if there was someone that you could contact at the parking authority on on a kind of acute need basis of I have someone parked on my sidewalk, what do I do about it? And have them send someone rather than a police officer.
And of course, parking in bike lanes,
Yeah,
the endless complaint.
and putting.
Which has gotten dropped on the Pittsburgh Parking Authority, and my sense is not necessarily with their buy-in or helpful cooperation.
And
I
also
would add speed
putting-
enforcement. I know that there is a lot of they want to really scale back on enforcing low-level traffic stops. So maybe prioritizing egregious speeding. Like there's a lot of egregious speeding and running of red lights that happens in the city. Like people will regularly go 20, 25 miles over the speed limit on certain streets that are on the bike map. And that's not safe for anybody.
And parking scooters in the bike lanes. I mean, they seem to put those scooters just anywhere.
I have a suggestion too that goes beyond the scope of bike ped stuff. We're kind of having the side chat in the chat, and I'd really like to see more transparency from the city and open communication about what happens when we do put in requests, be it through 311 or through our council person. I can't tell you how many 311 requests I've had that have been updated, but blank field in the form or just closed, no information. Like if they can at least like tell us who it got routed to, what the hell's going on with it. And that's true for any kind of citizen request. Just more transparency to us about what you're doing with what we say.
I just wanted to add that I hope it goes without saying that while we have all these lists about sidewalks and parking enforcement, where scooters are, I think the top of the list should be asking whether or not Gainey's administration will commit to maintaining the existing bike structure and ask what their plan is for making it greater. While we still want to like not have cars parked in the lanes and those kinds of things, I just want to make sure that what's already there, when the paint goes bad, they're going to repaint it. When the ballards fall down, they're going to put the ballards back up again. And not only just maintain what's there, but make sure that they have a plan for while they're going to increase the infrastructure even more. More so than having people parking in the current bike lanes, I'm interested in even more bike lanes and making sure the ones we have remain, as well kept as possible.
Yeah, I agree. That's certainly the bigger picture, and that's certainly the concern. I was on Nextdoor a couple weeks ago, and maybe it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, and someone started a conversation about the speed bumps or humps that were put on Beechwood Boulevard. And one person suggested, well, now that Mayor Gainey was in the office, that everybody should ask to have the speed humps taken out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is where does Gainey stand on all of the work that's been done over the last 8 years in terms of making roads safer for everyone?
Okay, more. What else would people like to see happen?
Perhaps related, but a recommitment to Vision Zero.
What is that? I don't know.
Vision Zero is a policy essentially to get all like traffic crashes down to zero, to eliminate deaths, knowing that some are unavoidable, like if they're naturally caused, like a heart attack or something, but essentially to get all preventable car crashes down to zero. Walt?
In the chat.
Airport authority crashes.
Mm-hmm. Walt, what were you going to say?
In the chat, Cassandra called out the Pittsburgh for Public Transportation have a really cool program called the First 100 Days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not the best person to summarize it, but I've heard of it and like looked at it, and it's a really solid platform that is worth looking at.
They're having a meeting, I think, next week about the changes with COVID. You know, the stops and the people, how many on the bus and all of that. It's a public meeting on Zoom.
So Anna, something I would suggest adding is just the general category of improvements to the bike network. For example, you know, connect from Hazelwood to the Duck Hollow Trail. For example, much better connection across the Highland Park Bridge. You know, it's easy to go on, but I mean, there are lots of these critical connections that have been lacking for, you know, a decade, multiple decades, and they make a huge difference. You know, like think about the difference that the opening of the Hot Metal Bridge made to the bike network. You know, that was huge to bike commuters and recreational cyclists in Pittsburgh. We need more of those critical connections to make the bike network more complete.
Agreed.
One more parting thought, the opportunity to purchase and develop the railroad line that currently runs, I think it's called the Brilliant Line, that's currently open. I don't know that that's necessarily directly a city project, but I imagine it is going to impact the city and require money and or time, effort, and commitment from the city. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. If we don't take advantage of it and they do something else with the line, it's gone forever. So even if the money isn't there to develop it now, at least the placeholder money.
So I know we're over time, but I do want to jump in here, if you don't mind, real quick, to respond to something you said, Paul. I'm in Greenfield, and I'd say 90 to 95% of our issues are all where Greenfield touches either Squirrel Hill and Hazelwood. And that particular junction that you just called out is something that we're all really concerned with. So Hazelwood Initiative, Shuck, and Greenfield Community Association are all meeting in February to actually talk about these sort of like border issues that touch all three of our neighborhoods. So if there's anybody else in this group, if you're not in one of those three neighborhoods, but you would be interested in collaborating with us or signing a letter that we draft based on this, you know, reach out to me on Slack when we get that group together.
Or if you want to, you can drop your email in the chat if you're comfortable with that.
Will do.
Okay, thanks, Catherine.
And, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I'd just back to Ed Gainey for a minute. I'd be interested in hearing from him what his priorities are, what his plans are, you know, where he is in terms of bicycles in Pittsburgh. I'd like to hear what he has to say, just to know where we stand, and so that we know what kind of work we have to do.
Right, I agree. Okay, Catherine put her email in the chat if people want to reach out to her. I think some people also put their emails in there, Catherine, for you to gather. But we are over time. I want to respect everyone's time. Let me know, if you thought this was good, if you like the format. I'll make a similar, if not exact, agenda, at least outline like updates from me. Then we can get into discussions from you all for February meeting, and I'll send a link out to that when the time is closer to that date. But keep thinking of topics, and if you want to jot them down somewhere, you can just add them to this agenda. I'll stick the agenda again in the chat, and I'll send out meeting notes. And this meeting, I forgot to mention at the beginning, I'm so sorry, it was recorded, so I can share it with people if they want to listen to it again or anything like that. But please, if I missed what you said, please add it to this agenda. And the only action items that I got for immediate follow-ups are that In between now and the next meeting, myself, Armin, and Todd will probably touch base about how to create this Slack network on the topic of snowing and snow plows. Reach out to your council person, and possibly, if you have the time, sign up to talk at a council meeting so that you can talk in front of council about this topic. Also, I would recommend you can reach out to Eric or Scott about this if you want some higher level Bike Pittsburgh advice, that goes above me, because I'm just the community organizer. I'm not the one actually going to the meetings with the city. That's Scott and Eric. And then as far as the Gainey administration goes, I will send all of these issues on to Scott, because he is part of the transition team, and he can read over these and see how he can present these in his meetings with that transition. And then I think we can I'm not sure what an action item would be about this administration other than that, or if you all, would someone go to say something?
Zoom meeting. Okay, I'll call you back.
We can figure out some sort of action as the new administration unfolds. So look forward to that. And please think about what you would like to talk about in February. And sorry for going over 5 minutes, and thank you all for coming. I had a good time. If you guys did too, I hope you did.
Thank you very much, Anna.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anna.
Glad we got a chance
Thank
to.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good job, Anna.
Thank you. See y'all later.